I am Heaven Hope. Welcome to Conversations with Goddess. Are you looking for hope? Are you looking for healing? Are you looking for guidance during these crazy, chaotic, and wild times? My guest today has a way of accessing hope, healing, and guidance for us all. Her name is Marguerite Rigoglioso.PHD. She is the foremost authority on the history of virgin births, the author of a bold new book of the mystery tradition of miraculous conception, Mary and the lineage of virgin births. Marguerite taught many graduate and undergraduate courses in the US and UK, and in 2012 founded her own Seven Sisters Mystery School, through which she teaches students about the sacred feminine and mentoring clients on the evolutionary spiritual path. She is also the author of Virgin Mother, Goddesses of Antiquity, and the Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece. Welcome to the show, Marguerite.
Glad to be here and connect with you again after a decade.
2012, that was quite a year. And I remember doing events all over the world about the Great Ascension and all the things that were supposed to happen. People were saying it's the end of the world, but the truth of the matter is it was just end of the world as we knew it.
It's kind of like delayed reaction.
Things have gotten really rather dramatic, haven't they?
We thought it was going to be the 2012 window, but it's actually, the 2020 and beyond window. It took a little while to show up as what it was meant to be.
Exactly. And it's not even a window. It's more like a birth canal.
That's it.
Since we're talking about virgin births, I think we're all undergoing.
Okay. For sure. We are undergoing a total rebirth, a virgin birth, a sovereign birth of ourselves.
Nobody really was prepared for what was about to unfold.
Surprised us all, even though I think a lot of us spiritual folks who are intuitive knew. Don't you feel like something's going to happen?
This year, I went through such a challenging time. I had no idea how I was going to get through it. But fortunately, I have a very deep connection with both beloved Kuan Yin and Mother Mary. And all I can say is it really helps to know that Mother Mary has your back. So here she is on the show with us today, in and through Marguerite. So she's going to share with us an oracle.
I wouldn't say that I'm channeling her directly. I don't feel like I'm necessarily incorporating this outside being known as Mother Mary. We're just accessing a divine stream of information that happens to be coming through my personality. But everybody has that capability.
Let's begin with the first question from Magdalena in Mexico. Mother Mary, what messages do you have for humanity and all her children at this time?
When I tune into her energy, what comes up first is an acknowledgement that this feels like the worst of times, but as the famous writer said, it's also the best of times. That very dualistic statement is emblematic of what we're going through right now, which is what feels like extreme duality, polarity, etc. There's something that's needed in that extreme duality and polarity because there's a crack between the two of them that is where the light is showing through. That's where the opportunity is for the growth. The tension of the duality and the polarity creates like a kind of a paradox where two seemingly opposite things seem to be true at the same time, depending on who what person is stating it. And somewhere between the two of them, there's like a crack that you can sort of sail through and kind of move into the next dimension beyond the duality. And that's where we're going. And that is a dimension that is filled with heart and love. So the rigor of dealing with the two or more seemingly pulling in opposite views and realities and truths is all a part of this kind of chaotic swirl that we're in, that is simply, stirring us into these deeper layers and deeper realms of where we've been wanting to go as souls for a very long time. And it's why so many of us have incarnated now. You're wondering why there's a population problem. Well, lots of souls were like, wow, look, that's the time when the crack between, the two polarities is going to be available. I'm going in now. As you know, heaven, as many people listening intuit or know or have experienced, and as those who are drawn to this, your show and this transmission are intuiting, and this is probably going to strike them as truth. It's just the time for a great awakening, a deeper level of awakening than ever before. The earth had to get and seem crazy enough in order for this to happen. So this craziness is our teacher. How we deal with it, how we handle it, how we look at it, how we respond to it. There are teachings in that. And of course, it's always about getting to the calm, clear, centered space that's a little bit above the fray and dealing with the fray through patience and love and releasing fear, because a lot of this fray is about the ricochet of fear. All sides of these arguments are very deeply entrenched in fear. And so this is just a fear test. In people go through adolescent initiations in indigenous cultures and so forth, you have to go through fear. Like, these are real trials. I mean, they've got to walk through crocodiles and whatever they need to do. We're walking through the crocodiles right now.
Are there any special prayers or actions that we can employ to help those in fear, anger, and lower emotions? Because obviously there's a lot of divisiveness happening on the planet right now.
Well, right now, it's for everybody who's hearing this message to simply work with it, because there's no way to share or impose this with onto other people, because everybody's in their own spin right now. So if you're hearing this message, then just practice this on yourself and focus on yourself. Don't worry about trying to change or heal anybody who doesn't directly come to you for guidance. That's the number one thing. It's okay to let people be in the chaos that they are, and for you to just get grounded. So one of the tools is simply that grounding trunk that you set and sense the center of your light body in your body, and you ask Mother Earth to receive your grounding, and you shoot that light body deep into the soil of the earth, and you feel your connectivity with Mother Earth, and you feel the resonance between that light body and the center of Mother Earth as golden light, for example. For you to stay grounded energetically, and then also through going out in nature, being with nature, no matter what the weather, where, when, and how. Going and being with nature will be a great grounding, and it will also be a great calming. It will also be a great elevation. So this is the time to really get in touch with Mother Nature as the healer and as the inspirer that it is. So it's really all about grounding, 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 earth, 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 even as we're going into these deeper dimensions of the heart, and we are going into deeper levels of our soul. We're weaving the higher dimensions into the physical body. Are there other questions? Do we want to go?
There is another question right along those lines. It seems that relationships are undergoing massive breakdown. And person who texted me, what is the most important thought to hold on to, the most beneficial thought to keep returning to, let's say in a situation like that, the highest thought to hold in a situation of a relationship nature?
So first of all, open to the new ones that are coming into your life and that are coming together that might be more aligned for you. Let the process happen, but hold it with love. In other words, you don't have to create carnage or anything like that, but just say, wow, this isn't feeling so good anymore. I don't really feel that I have much in common with this person anymore. This could be a partner. This could be a family member. This could be a best friend, whatever it is. And just to acknowledge, we're having differences right now, and you need to assess, does it feel like there's enough there that you want to stay on common ground and stay in communication with this person? Or do you kind of want to give it a little bit more of a space, a leeway, or a breather? And just trust your intuition. It will be different with each person. But as long as you're just holding the situation and the other person with love on the unconditional larger level, you'll be fine, because there may be a time down the road where these polarities relax and then people can come back together again. Or it may simply be that things become further and further apart. There's less and less in common, and you're being invited to migrate to what your soul tribe is.
I had a friend who texted me a question about, can you point us in the direction of what you feel would be an ideal location to seed and anchor some of these new earth communities?
How about right where you're sitting right now? That's one layer of it, let's say. In other words, it's not a requirement that everybody move in order to do this. It may be that you're able to do it staying in place. So what you want to do is you want to trust your own intuition, and you'll know, am I feeling like I need to move, or I'm excited about moving, or does that feel like a headache? If it feels like a headache, it's meant that you're to stay in place right now. If, on the other hand, you're chomping at the bit and you're like, I know I got to go somewhere. I know I got to go. I'm feeling the horizon. I'm feeling an excitement. What you want to do is find where Mother Earth is calling you. So there may not be any like set places. It's where you're individually being called to, in conjunction with your intuition, which is connected with your higher guidance. There's not being advocated here, hey, go to Costa Rica, It's just kind of like, it may just be that you move to even a different place in town, or you just move across state, but it's what's calling you inwardly. Like, where are you feeling excited about going? That's where it's going to be.
Okay. So the final question has to do with, what is the best way to overcome the pandemic?
Getting to the place where you're grounded and solid on Mother Earth, and at the same time, you're going inward on a daily basis to get above the fray of all of the messages that are being set forth out in the media, and that people are staying out of that media stream and really being as much in tune with nature as you can, with your inner life, with your nature life, with your people who you like, people who you're starting to meet whom you like, new pods of people and things like that. That's really the simplest and best way, because it's going to immediately take you out of the fear streams and out of a false matrix reality that has been constructed, largely built with fear as the mortar between the bricks.
Once again, it's about doing one's inner work and
That's right.
safety around, your own environment.
That's
And
right.
that sort of answers my question, is how do we evolve through this collective dark night of the soul and collective initiation? And how do we become the divine human in a crazy, chaotic world?
It's continuing to do that inner growth work, going to find inspirational talks, prayers, people, videos, friends that inspire you. Your meditation cushion and your navel are your best allies right now, contrary to all of the people who've been disparaging that for years as a preparation to try to discourage people from being in the meditative state. But now is exactly, we need to be in meditation more and more and more. And I've been talking about the legend in France that Mary Magdalene went up to heaven 7 times a day. What is that? That means that she was doing a practice of bringing divinity or cultivating her inner divinity at that clarion call, like Mecca, 7 times a day, so that she could integrate it more and more and more in her walking every minute of the day. She was training herself to be that open, divine human, walking around and dealing with the agita of usual, 3D that she had like everybody else. And that's what it's about right now. Really going turbo into your spiritual practices, into what excites you about that, into new areas, or brushing off old areas that you knew were great, but you just never put the time in. Well, it would be really good to put that time in right now. Cultivating the heart space, cultivating the love space, the reception of love, the expression of love, and the embodiment of self-love. So anything you can do to foster that is really high priority right now.
How do we do that?
Meditative practices that, first of all, get you still. Second of all, get you into your breath, which then leads to a sense of peace. Peace can then lead to a sense of ebullience or elevation. Elevation can lead to a sense of joy. Joy can lead to a sense of love. That's a kind of a little trajectory that you can take in your meditations on a daily basis to keep yourself stepping up. Okay, I'm peaceful now. How do I get to the next step? How do I get to that next step? And then how do I get to love? And then alternatively, you can begin with love by thinking on people, places, and things, including pets, that you do have a feeling of affection or love for. Vistas, divine masters, beloveds, children, and stimulate that feeling of love within yourself. And then just feel it growing and growing and growing, like the Grinch's heart. And feel it permeating you, turn it in toward yourself. Oh, I love myself. I love feeling compassion for those times and parts of yourself that feel broken, unhealed, unreasonable. Turning it outward toward people that are easy to love, and then less easy, and then really difficult, and then, humanity as a whole. And then the people from that political party or that political party that you think are, part of the problem, whatever. These are practices like Mary Magdalene going up and down 7 times a day. You can do it when you're in traffic. I mean, all of these types of things. Just turn your focus and make it like, okay, today I'm going to be devoted to just seeing what I can do to just shift my thought forms into this. Maybe dedicate a week to it and see how it goes. Everybody has had the feeling of love in one way or another at some point or another. And you can access that freely. It is your goddess, God-given birthright. Even if you've been traumatized and have been disrupted in your ability to give and receive love, there's still a thread, there's still one cell of love within your heart. Cultivate it, duplicate it, triplicate it, and amplify it. And ask for assistance from the masters of love, from Mother Mary, from Jesus, from Magdalene, from Kuan Yin, from the whatever being you associate as connected to love. It's all the same because it's just all coming through my higher self.
Okay.
And I have called in Mother Mary as a guide. That's the thing. It's like we're just accessing a divine stream of information that happens to be coming through my personality. But everybody has that capability. All right. Just saying, because this is something that I've taught,
Roxy said to me something along the lines of an oracle in every home.
That's my goal, is to just get an oracle in every household, but ultimately for everyone to reopen their own oracle ability. That's where we're going. That's part of the ascension, as I call it, the opening of the heart, the opening of the third eye, and the opening of the womb. Those are the three main areas right now that are needing activation, opening, clearing, healing, and integration, weaving together.
How do we access the Mary's holy order of elevated women simply through intention? Just as these things you said, is this something as simple as we just intend that?
That's right. So what I'm inviting us to do, and you too, Heaven, is just to close your eyes, as Olivia Roberts says, to better see, right? And we are just now inviting the Marys to be with us even more strongly. Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Mother Mary's sister, Mary Paragita, the three of whom walked with Jesus and were high-level powerhouse, goddess-connected women in their own right, to the point where Mother Mary had her full ascension. We're just tuning into their frequency. We're asking them, inviting them to teach us, to show us what their vibration is all about, and to pluck the strings, the same strings within us, so that we can amplify that vibration within ourselves.
Would you share with us Mary's original name? The one that has deep mystical coatings.
It's Mariam. Mariam.
You use that as a mantra, right?
Yeah, you can use it as a mantra because, and in the original Egyptian, it would have been Mary, which means love or divine love. And it was often associated with Isis. It would be a title related to Isis that would be like a Mr. or Mrs. that you would put in front of your name, and kings would do it, and various high officials would do it. In the Hebrew, it's Mariam, and that has so many beautiful letters and syllables. Ma, which is Divine Mother, the universal sound of Divine Mother. Ri, which is another syllable of accelerating into divine consciousness, and which is a version of Om, Mahri Om, in a sense. So you can play with that. And in my Mother Mary mystery teachings, I take people through a series of using that mantra and those syllables together in extended vocalizations to invoke the meanings into our bodies of what these syllables can gift us with. And this is part of the ancient Sanskrit understanding, where the mantras are all based on these types of syllables. And that's because they're understood to be magical. The Hindu saint Sri Kaleshwar teaches us that they each bija, bijakshara, each syllable is connected to an angel, an angelic presence, a divine being, a divine intelligence. So when you speak them, it's like you're plucking harp strings into the universe, and that resonance carries out. And it starts doing things that will come back into your life in a very positive way. And I can really attest to that. Mariam is your very simple mantra that you can play with. And, you know, in the Hebrew, it's the name Miriam, or Mariam in the Arabic, and so forth, right? But this is an encoded name.
And what happens when you use that as a mantra?
You will send vibrations out into the universe that will start setting things in motion that you may or may not be aware of, but that you will see the results of at some point in a positive way.
Beautiful.
I invite everybody watching to do this as well. So just take a deep breath in. And we begin with Ma. Ma. And we move to Re. Re. And we move to Am. You can repeat that over and over and over again at different pitches, with different cadences, and so forth.
Beautiful. I love to give people watching a takeaway, something that they can integrate into their spiritual toolkit at home during these crazy times. I would just love to ask Mother Mary if there's any final message.
As someone famous once said, the kingdom of heaven is within. And we would add the queendom of heaven is within. And that's really where it's at. It's within. This is a within time. You are the endless cornucopia. And you're going to pull out the streams and ribbons of your future manifestation from deep within yourself, which is totally connected to divine stream. And that's what you want to be focusing on. This is the opportunity right now. Inner vision.
I'd like to ask you actually to share your Mother Mary miracle story.
One of the main ones was about my healing, my physical healing, because like many women, I've had blockages and things in my uterus and ovaries in the form of fibroids and then cysts on my left ovary.
Yes, what is that all about? Fibroids and blockages in the reproductive area. I'd love to comment on that.
Well, it's a few different things, but the latest insight that I received was through Mantak Chia on the use of sexual chi and sexual hormones. He was explaining that really every month the woman needs to reintegrate the energy from her menstruation that has not resulted in the conception of a child back into her body through these, working with your hands and your energy and so forth. Otherwise, it will stay stuck. It needs to be reabsorbed into the body, almost like, hand lotion. You don't just want it like riding on the surface there. It's got to absorb in. So he's kind of saying and I realized, oh my gosh, that's why I and so many women, we've lost those ancient techniques that he says, were taught to one of the Chinese emperors by 3 women. Ancient female knowledge. So that's one thing. The other piece is that the uterus is a cleaning device. It will try to clean everything in its surface, in its surroundings. And because there's so much to clean, much more than any one poor little uterus could handle, it just starts getting these clogs on top of it. So between the clogs of what it's trying to clean up and the clogs from its own inner process of things that don't come to fruition each month and that need to be, just massaged around, we have a lot of these uterine growths that occur. Okay. So I had a cyst on my left ovary that I finally had removed. It was getting to be like 9 centimeters or something. I don't know. I went in for surgery, and I had friends see me held by Mother Mary in a pink blanket of love while I was having the surgery. When I woke up, it turns out I found out later that they had given me ketamine as part of the anesthesia. So of course I went into high oracle state. I woke up in the recovery room, and I was like flooded by this energy of Mother Mary. I'm like, oh my God, she's real. and my ancestors, several of my ancestors. And I had to call the nurse over. I'm like, I have to touch you. I have to send this love energy into you, and I was trying to send it into the room, but it wanted something to touch, right? To transmit it. So that was one miracle, because I had never had that strong of a living experience of her, but being in that altered state, wow, there she was with everybody who had sent me that information, which I had forgotten about. So that was one thing. And then a couple of years later, I ended up having another growth on that ovary. And it was hard though this time, and that scared the heck out of me. And I went through this very deep crisis around Christmas, of 2019. And I realized, when I went into meditation, they're like, nothing's really wrong. We just want to give you a nudge that it would be a good time to start charging the mantras from the Holy Womb Chakra teachings that you learned several years ago and decided you didn't want to do it. I'm like, oh my God, so I start doing the Mula Mantra, and I asked Mother Mary, to help me. I would visualize her womb merging with mine. And fast forward a few months, and, I had this ultrasound and MRI then, and the ultrasound revealed that there was some kind of lump, but they couldn't exactly grasp onto it. So they were going to send me for the MRI. By the time I got to the MRI and got back into the doctor's office with the results, he was all flustered, because he was like, okay, wait, what's going on here? And I explained, and he said, well, there's nothing in the MRI. And I literally had been sitting there with the computer on my lap and the gown, waiting for him to come. He was late from a surgery. And what was I doing? I was revisiting the teachings of the Holy Womb Chakra teachings that I had learned from Cindy Lindsay, which had been consolidated and brought back from, these ancient palm leaf manuscripts, hidden material by Sri Kaleshwar. And I was reacquainting myself with it and going to get certified to teach it. And he comes in and he tells me there's nothing on your ovary. So I knew that this was a miracle. And I said to him, well, I have been doing practices. And he said, well, what are these practices? Group therapy? Like, so stunned. And I called Cindy Lindsay after, and she's like, oh, of course, of course you were going to have that kind of experience so that you could be more of an authentic spokesperson, for these teachings. Third one was a week. So I decided to charge the mantras, which means that you do 108 of them, a full mala, over 101 days. And there were like 7 of them that are part of the teachings. I realized when I looked back at the timing that literally a week after I completed the 101 days, after visiting and viewing 100 houses or more that I was thinking of purchasing or wanted, nothing was right. Nothing was right. I found my house. And in the house, the reason I knew it was my house was the owner had the same exact prayer card of the Mary and Jesus with the Sacred Hearts that somebody had given me a while ago, and had been my only traveling altar piece during this road trip that I had done for like six months. And there it was. I was like, oh my God, Mother Mary wants me to live in, here. Wow. It's a little farther north than I thought, but not so bad. Okay. Thank you, Mother Mary. And thank you, Holy Womb Chakra teachings, because I had purified and cleared my womb. for manifestation at that level. So those are 3 miracles that have taken place.
So tell me about the Holy Womb Chakra teachings.
Yeah. So it turns out that there are not just 7 chakras within the body. There's an 8th, which is the Holy Womb.
Oh.
And it's separate from the 2nd chakra. It's its own kind of overlay, if you will, whose focus is really in what's called the Nada Bindu point, which is a floating energy point about 1.5 inches below your navel in your body. And men and women all have this. But I see it as like a consolidation, almost like a drawing up of all the womb energy, and then a portal in to connect with Mother Divine's Universal Mother Creator's Holy Womb Chakra. So these teachings about this come from the ancient palm leaf manuscripts, literally manuscripts that were written on palm leaves, which are long and thin, by masters, rishis. And Sri Kaleshwar found a lot of them, or was given them, or synchronistically acquired them. And they have these little tiny writings of these mantras and these yantras, or these drawings of the Holy Womb Chakra. And so he brought this back out to the world before 2012, when he made his samadhi. He went, over to the other side. And so these teachings now are sort of like in a consolidated form. They come out of the Divine Mother Center, which was connected with him in Laytonville, California. My teacher was Cindy Lindsay, and there are others who are certified. I became certified, and I teach this on my Seven Sisters Mystery School site. It's an on-demand course.
Actually, I would love to know a little bit more about how you came to create Seven Sisters Mystery School.
2022 is our 10th birthday year,
Mm-hmm.
because I founded it in 2012. So it's been 10 years of birthing, cultivating, nourishing, going through all the agonies of having a sacred business, and then finally getting to this place in the 10th year where things are flowing a little bit more. And it seems now to be divinely timed to be of service to these people who are wanting to come and have assistance with what's going on.
Are you feeling that there's a shift now planetarily because of all that's unfolded, and actually an opening, a willingness, a genuine desire to seek out people such as yourself?
Yeah. The minute 2020 happened, March, my enrollment in my courses like tripled.
Wow.
And since then, my client load has doubled. People who are coming and looking at what I'm doing has just increased quite a bit, because people are, in their words, awakening. I've had so many clients who say to me, well, I woke up 2 years ago, or, I had my awakening, I'm like, wow, okay, this is being felt. And people are starting to find the spiritual teachers who've been doing all of their own agonizing work and their own healing and being available, who are now, we're here to like catch the baby coming out of the vagina. That's kind of in a way how I feel, and kind of helping it along. So yeah, there is a time, and this is the big prophesied time of the healers and the spirit workers to be supported in what they're doing, because we're finally needed in bigger numbers.
Thank Goddess for that.
Thank Goddess.
Yes.
So my school it's got so many on-demand courses. It's got free offerings, videos, audios, a monthly Mother Mary Love and Empowerment Circle, cacao ceremonies that I do online, etc. Many, many things. If people go to sevensistersmysteryschool.com, the 7 is written out, SEVEN, you can see, you can have fun.
Let's take a moment and dive into virgin births, Mother Mary and the true Mother Mary.
what I received back in 2001 was a downpour that virgin birth was a real practice of holy women. And I began to research that in the ancient Greek tradition and found out, yes, that is the case. I found a lot of evidence for it, indicating that Mother Mary was not the only one, although she probably is the highest level adept of that practice ever to have walked the planet. And so there were women all over the world, and especially in the ancient Mediterranean world and Levant coast, who were dedicated to practicing divine birth to bring high holy avatars to the planet to help humanity. Jesus is perhaps, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, who was birthed out of that process. There's a lot to the practice. It went through different phases. It went through a degeneration. It got co-opted and hijacked like everything else. What I came to discover is that ideally it involves a group of women, a sisterhood, and it involves having the knowledge passed on through lineages, mother, daughter, mother, grandmother. And so these things, like many shamanic traditions, were passed on and practiced in family lineages.
Why is it important for women to have a god who looks like them?
The divine has always had a feminine valence and a masculine valence. And some would argue that the whole of creation is the yin yang, which has the masculine feminine valence within it, but the whole egg itself is actually female, feminine. So it's not so much that we're creating or imagining a goddess who looks like us, but we are simply connecting with what is. And it's important that we reconnect with what is after centuries, if not millennia, of that idea being torn asunder and separated from us to our great detriment on planet Earth. So we're restoring our understanding of reality. And in doing so, we're experiencing deep levels of healing and empowerment as women and as a human family, and a rectification of relationships that need to happen now so that we will once again be operating in a healthy way with one another. So it's about the restoration of our understanding of the feminine God valence, and therefore the resurrection of all women and the healing and relief of all men.
And the restoration of the balance, masculine, feminine dynamic, which I believe is key to the healing of the planet. Until women start to really take their rightful place alongside the masculine, the feminine energy and the masculine energy coming into harmonic balance, how could we possibly have a healthy planet?
Correct. And that was one of the first things that the negative controllers, if you will, had to decimate and tear asunder in order for them to get their claws into the earth plane and then start wreaking havoc. And
without having them hijack the interview, but would you just share who you mean by that?
Well, anybody who works in the realms of shamanism, anybody who has done altered state of consciousness experiences and journeys into the other dimensions has encountered sooner or later negative energies. So there's a whole ecosystem, there's a whole series of species of these beings, just like there are angels and archangels and helper beings and human beings and animal species. There are these negative beings, and they like to mess around because they need misery in order to feed themselves. So they go around trying to mess up and cause trouble in various dimensional realities. And one big one is planet Earth, where they knew they could hijack human emotional bodies which would then produce the negative energies that they would be able to sustain themselves on. So they're big time feeding off planet Earth, and they've been able to kind of cloak themselves and manipulate and get around cosmic law regarding free will and so forth and so on, to funnel this energy into themselves. And they have connected with various aspects of human existence and human society from, top down. So I'll just say that, but they're operating, and that's part of what this time is all about, is to uncloak them and just say, thank you very much for the learning. And you're going to have to go over there to get your food, or you're going to have to go to the light, which will be a lot better for you. I know you're going to want to go kicking and screaming, but we highly recommend it. But we are sovereign, and we will no longer have our wombs abducted. Goodbye.
I don't know if this is the video to dive into the womb abductions and all of that. That can be discovered more at Marguerite's website, sevensistersmysteryschool.com, with a 7 spelled out, correct?
Yes.
And also in your new book, would you give me the title again, please?
Yes. So I don't so much talk about that in the new book, but I've talked about it in numerous talks and interviews that I've given. But the new book is The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, Mary and the Lineage of Virgin Births.
Synopsize, what is that book about?
That allows us to understand Mary as a deliberate practitioner of divine birth, not a passive maiden, who was part of a family that practiced this, and who was a very high adept and successfully brought in the Christ consciousness being in order to help humanity in a very, very big way. So she was a practitioner. And what I talk about is how that happened, how she was already divinely born from her mother, Anne, and some of the indications of the practices that they did to achieve divine birth, as well as the story of what happened with Mary from infancy all the way through her conception of Jesus and the birth of Jesus, as found in one of the suppressed gospels called the Infancy Gospel of James. And I penetrate into it using all of the research that I did from divine birth in ancient Greece. And I'm able to suss out the codes and get the meanings of the symbols and tie things together so that thinking people can understand how and why divine birth would be a real thing.
So when you say divine birth, for people who don't understand, you're also referencing virgin birth. And
yes.
Okay, clarify that for people who are not familiar with this.
With virgin birth, it is definitely a woman who has never had any kind of penetration by a human male or an astral male being. Whereas in divine, and she conceives through parthenogenesis, her own self-sovereign triggering of her egg through high spiritual yogas into a child.
Various high spiritual yogas, such as
using light and sound interfaces, using interdimensional understandings and techniques and tools. That's kind of something of the nature of what a divine birth priestess would need to be accessing, and working with the angelics, like the angel Gabriels of the world, to assist on the other side with this process of getting the creature into the actual human body. There were various forms of it, but I tend to lump it all under one divine birth rubric, because that's talking to us about an unusual form of conception that we're not used to.
Why is it important to know about divine birth at this time? How is it relevant?
It goes along with our understanding of the tremendous powers of the womb. It's like the apex ultimate extension or, goal of a holy womb. All right. It's so you have like high virgin birth on one end, and you might have high tantric sexual intercourse in a deeply divine ritual on the other, both of which are meant to bring in high level beings when they're not hijacked. And then you have everything in between. But all of this is related to the suppressed knowledge about the powers of the human womb. So even if you do not want to practice high parthenogenesis or high tantric union, you still want a high level womb power understanding, so that when, first of all, you can bring in a higher vibrational child through regular intercourse with the human male. And you also want to know what other powers are available to you through your womb: powers of creativity, manifestation, healing of others. Okay, when you truly connect with your divine birth technologies, you become closer and closer and closer to an avatar yourself, to a representation of the divine that you already are.
Could you give your definition of avatar?
It's a walking embodiment of the divine in 3D human reality. So these divine birth conceptions resulted in the conceptions of avatars who then walk the planet like Jesus. But we can all become our own avatar through these ascension processes that get us activated with our divine human blueprint. Accessing the powers of the womb is a very important part of that. Accessing the powers of the heart is a very important part of that. We started out the talk with this, with the oracle on that. Accessing the powers of the third eye and the crown is another important part of that. We have to open, clear, and empower. And we have to access all of our DNA on every dimension, not just the 2 strands that scientists talk about, but all 12 or 13 pairs, however many there are, so that we can become those walking divine beings again. That's where we're going.
You speak to what you feel are women's core wound.
Yeah, women's core wound is being disconnected from the goddess and from the divine and from the understanding that we are representations of Divine Mother. And the disempowerments of our wombs that has also gone as far as rape of our wombs, the abuse of our wombs. Okay. That is very high level magic that has been perpetrated on the human race to disconnect us from the divine and to disconnect us from, the feeling of love. All of this that we're talking about is related to healing that primary wound that the controllers orchestrated for women. What those mantras do is they clear and cleanse your womb of anything that does not belong there. Energies of previous men or other people, abuse energies. I personally would go so far as to say abduction energies. Really, it's in the category of anything that's been unwanted touch or hijacking or harm. It will heal you of, therefore, heartbreak, because by releasing all of these cords and all of these things, and helping you come to your sovereign self, you're no longer still sucking on male energies that are not available there to fill yourself. And it helps you come in contact with your tremendous healing power and your tremendous manifestation power. Everything we're talking about is related. And Sri Kaleshwar said that Mother Mary used these practices, these mantras. So we would know that we're in the stream, whether we want to have a divine birth or not, in terms of how she did it. We are in the stream, and there's a 2 mantra sequence that allows a male and female to create what Kaleshwar calls a divine child. So one is done while the couple is in sacred union, and then to bring this higher being into her body. And then after the conception happens, the woman is then doing a second mantra And then there are many other mantras that can support her during the pregnancy, during the birthing, and afterward.
So this would be a perfect segue into perhaps sharing a mantra. Maybe just chant the Mula Mantra, which was so instrumental in your healing of your womb, and especially the cyst that disappeared as a result.
So it starts with Om, which is the universal sound of the mother and, all of creation. And then it's Dim Ram. And Dim is a bijakshara, a syllable that's connected with Divine Mother Shakti. Ram is connected with the sacred masculine. And then it says Mama Kama Chakra. Mama, meaning the mother. Kama, meaning the desire chakra or the holy womb chakra. Prakshalana Avaham. Prakshalana means purification or clearing. Avaham, come to me. It means, universal divine mother, father, please bring to my holy chakra of desire purification. Our wombs have been besieged, wounded, and sullied with so much that has gone on over the millennia that we just need a big shower. That's it. That's all it is. Okay. It's originally pure. It's just we're restoring the purity to it by this. When you take the Holy Womb Chakra training, teachings that I have, there is an audio of Sri Kaleshwar speaking it. Okay. And I can put you in touch with other people who have had much more experience with these mantras. However, a cyst was healed, so I think it's okay. Like there's some forgiveness if it's not perfect.
And it's perfect in its imperfection. And what really matters is the intention behind it.
Absolutely.
And the heart space and the emotion with which you put into any of these practices.
That's right. The love,
Love, yes.
Okay. So with that in mind, we'll begin. Om. Dim Ram, Dim Ram, Dim Ram. Mama Kama Chakra Prakshalana Avaham. Om. Dim Ram, Dim Ram, Dim Ram. Mama Kama Chakra Prakshalana Avaham. Om Dim Ram, Dim Ram, Dim Ram. Mama Kama Chakra Prakshalana Avaham. Om.
Thank you.
Over the years, I have developed 4 major courses that connect Mother Mary and the Holy Womb. So what we have is this bundle package that we're calling Mastering Mary's Womb Mysteries. And it includes 4 courses: the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, the Mother Mary Mystery teachings, the Divine Birth audios series that I have, the Divine Birth Mysteries audio series, and another course I did called Reclaiming Our Starry Origins. That plus several audios and a live experience with me 3 times a year that people can come, bring their questions, hear womb and Mary news, enjoy some community and have some live interactivity. So it doesn't, you have a place where you can integrate and bring your questions. It's much more economical to do it all together rather than if you were to buy all of those things separately. And we just wanted to make it like a mini, a little mini master's degree in Mother Mary and the Holy Womb. It's like a coherent set of teachings together that I think will give people a feeling of confidence and competence and context for what they're doing.
I'm a priestess, and we met each other sort of through the priestess community. You came to an event that I did called Heaven on the New Earth celebration. What is your definition of priestess?
A woman who wishes to be of sacred service to humanity, planet Earth, and the farther dimensions through her own growing connectivity with the divine and the healing and purification of her own being.
And actually a beautiful segue into how we're going to close this show. I would love to invite you, Marguerite, to join me in a prayer and a blessing as priestesses for others, for our brothers and sisters, and for the planet. And I'm going to invite you to begin, and then I will close it out.
I invite us all to just come inward and take a few deep breaths, which is the elixir of life and really is life itself. Feel your body and feel Mother Earth beneath and around you, and Mother, Father, Divine swirling within. We ask that Mother in all of her forms be with us, inspire us, heal us, and bring us into the full fruition of who we are and what we agreed to as our mission on planet Earth at this time for ourselves, for humanity, and for Gaia herself. We are invoking and asking for that assistance at this time.
I invoke beloved Mother Mary's energy, because she always has my back and your back, and we thank Marguerite for bringing the messages through from the Divine Mother. Just want to remind each and every one of you that you are so very loved. You are so very precious in the heart of the Mother. You are worthy. You are enough. You are safe. Always held in Divine Mother's loving embrace. I am so grateful for the opportunity to gather here today. For when two or more are gathered in the name of love and healing, miracles absolutely happen. For this is the natural order of the universe. So no matter what is going on out there, know that all is well, you are well, and things will continue to flow well for each and every one of us. Thank you so much, and blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thank you so much, Marguerite, for joining us. Thank you for joining me in that prayer. And thank you, all of you, for hanging in there through this very intense and probably one of my longest shows. You got value out of it. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff that supports the channel. And until next time, may the goddess bless you. And she does.